In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to pass in JSON as a parameter. I'm going to continue on with my REST service of working with a map of students. What I would end up doing is I'll end up modifying my post method to accept the parameter of JSON and then use that JSON to write into the map. I'm going to start by getting rid of the response status because it's going to be implemented. And I'll modify this. Instead of returning a string, I'm going to return response entity. And I'll return back a student. And I'm going to pass in not a parameter, but a body. Request body allows me to pass in more information. It takes a little bit more work to build the clients, and I have to configure Postman a little bit. It allows me to pass in large amounts of data. I'm going to call this new students. And request body, of course, needs to be imported. Alright, so let's get rid of this. So new student is going to pass in as JSON, so which means I have to break it out. To do so, I'm going to use Jackson. Spring Boot automatically includes Jackson whenever you create a project. I'm pulling this from faster XML. And now mapper, of course, will be what converts my object. I'm going to start by assuming that my user passes up bad data. So I'm going to create my student variable. I'm going to pass in invalid students. If they do it right, response will of course change. Right. Mapper requires a try catch. It's the JSON mapping example. I'm not going to do much with this. I'm simply just going to die here. I'm also going to catch the JSON processing exception. I'm also going to do anything, just simply die here. If the try works, my last line, which will return the objects, will return a correct students. And of course, return OK if we pass in invalid students. Alright, so let's now handle the logic. I need to convert the JSON to something obvious. So I use mapper here to read the value. And it'll be this new student. As you know, mapper passes in the class. The class has to be built correctly. We built this in an earlier video. You must have your methods or your objects private and a getter and setter for each one of your objects. This should have thrown that error. I wonder why it's still yelling at me. All right. And so I'll add this to my students. What did I just write? There we go. Okay, so now it's happy. All the errors have gone away. So if I pass in invalid students, it'll get added to my database. It'll be added in with a map of the student ID to the response. Now, in general, whenever you're using post is to create a new object in your map. So if you're writing to, say, a database, post would be how you create a new object in the database. Get is always when you read from the database, put is an update, and delete is a delete. So we have the code. It should be working. Let's write Postman to test it. So if I switch this to post, I need to adjust how this works. So I'm going to create a new window here. Thank you for helping me. So I'm going to change this to post. Now I need to update this so that it sends up a body. So in order to do so, I need to click on body. Now I need to check on raw. And then I need to pick JSON from this dropdown. And then I need to type in my JSON. Save yourself a lot of grief. Make sure that they match here. So I've got student ID, F name, and L name. So if you're a bad typist, copy and paste them over there. So I'm going to put in 101. And we'll use Stephen King to follow with my author idea. So this should be a colon, not a comma. Alright, so that's the JSON I want to send up. I got an ID of 101. Stephen King is my first name and last name. So I send this. And it could not, because I didn't run the project. It always helps. So let's run the simple web service. Okay, I'm up. Try this again. There we go. So it responds back with the student I just entered in. So let's see if it works. If I go back to get, if I enter in student ID 101 here, I should get Stephen King back. And I do. Look at that. So I've written into my database. So it works. Now I've got all sorts of problems. If I enter in bad JSON, if I enter in a variety, if the student's already there, there's a bunch of problems. So I'm just going to pick up a couple of them. I'm not going to pick up all the errors. So I'm going to go back to my controller code. And I'm going to look at my try catch. So right here, I'm assuming that everything's perfect. Okay. So I'm going to check to see if it's already in there. So I'm checking to see if it's not in there. If it's not in my database, or not in my map, excuse me, I'll add it. Otherwise, I'll yell at them saying it's already there. I'll put the actual number here they sent in here. Okay, so, and now of course I'll return the problem here. So I won't send back the okay, I'll send back another error. I'll send back not acceptable. Alright, so I'm save. Let me see if that works. Go back to my post. I'll see if I can put Stephen King in there again. It responds back. See if he's still in there. There he is, already in the database. So it looks like it works. So we've written into our database. Let's stop and rerun this just to make sure I don't have any glitches. So this will clear out my class. Run it again. So I'm going to search for Stephen King. He's not in there. Go to post. Send. There he is. I look for him. He's in the database. All right, so we wrote a simple post here. Now I've got some logic errors in here. I need to check to make sure that the first name is the right length, the last name is the right length, the student ID exists. It's not. There's a bunch of errors in here that I could check for. But you see how post works. All right, thanks. Good luck to you.